Remember, we're here 3 times a day now, so um, please, nobody ever pressure yourself. But to have a 10-minute a day practice is very, very powerful. So yeah, we're gonna go into the Yeshe Jungne text. This is a Kama text. That means it came from for over 2,000 years from Buddha Shakyamuni, preserved by Patrul Rinpoche in the 19th century, where a lot of these texts were getting erased and wiped out, probably from even the 6th century on. The Muslim invasion started in what we call India now in the 6th century, but they ended up conquering the Dharma and wiping it out by the 12th century. And at that time, we started to see a lot of compiling of the Dharma in Tibet and probably China too. China is responsible for a lot of preservation, believe it or not, especially prior to the 8th century. And so um, this text was saved. It was sort of a rescue operation. And it has 9 ways of pointing out this nature of the mind that we just talked about. Now, any questions on the nature of mind? I think that was a very detailed explanation. Thanks to Chappelle asking about that. Everybody know what the nature of mind is before we read about it? At least kind of, yeah? You'll be okay. All right, so let's go into it. It says the RO teachings divide Dzogchen practitioners into 3 categories: high capability, medium capability, and lesser capability. High capability practitioners realize the Dzogchen teachings immediately. Medium capability do so gradually. Lesser capability practitioners require more time and effort. Even within the 3 categories, there can be differing layers of capacity. For this reason, the RO teachings subdivide each one of these categories into 3, so that there are 9 in all. High capacity of the highest, high capacity of the medium, high capacity of lesser. Medium capacity of the highest, medium capacity of the medium, medium capacity of the lesser. Lesser capacity of the highest, lesser capacity of the medium, and lesser capacity practitioners of the lesser caliber. When I was reading this book and it really, really benefited me, I think I was somewhere in the middle to the lesser there. But I don't know, these words could land on you all at any time, right? So who knows? It's more about where you're at right now. So I could be lesser of the lesser today, and tomorrow be highest of the high. It really is about how many clouds of conceptual proliferation and rumination are in our way, and how heated our habit of discursion is, our distraction. As I get distracted and look at Dundrup's comment. uh, yeah, so it varies day by day, but then of course you have your bulk. You'll be at a certain level based on your background. If you've done 10 years of shamatha meditation, then awareness is going to be very easy for you because your mind is stable. So that's pretty obvious. It's fun to be the lesser. Don't worry. We love being the lesser of the lesser around here. We don't mind. So we will now explore the instructions given for each one of these 9 levels, beginning with the first. All right, so we'll go over the first for high capability practitioners of the highest caliber. And I'm glad they're putting the highest first, just in case, right? And then remember, Longchenpa says in the book Dzogchen, a collection of Longchen Rabjam's writings, in the beginning of that text, he says, if you've made a connection with Dzogchen, a significant one, it would be a waste of your life energy not to continue with that. So it says, once you have a good realization of the nature of your mind, once you know for certain that the nature of your mind is boundless and inexpressible, how will you maintain? If you're a high capability practitioner of the highest caliber, you know that whether the mind is abiding in the natural state or whether the mind is moving, it is no other than mind. And that's kind of what I was explaining to Monica, that even if you're working on your car or you're sitting in these still sessions. Awareness itself is like space itself. It's very boundless, and it's only our psychic and emotional contractions that really create the impression that there's not boundlessness and inexpressibility and things like that. So we utilize the 10-minute sessions so that when we're out there working on our car, we'll have that spaciousness naturally accessible to us more so than if you weren't doing any silent sits, or in some cases they do guru yoga mantras, different, like the Zen tradition will have you probably staring at walls and hitting you with sticks. I don't know. Everybody has their own way to familiarize with the view. So it says here, and ours is definitely meditation, utilizing meditation, inquiry, discussions, asking questions, and exploring text. Those are our three ways. And then, of course, the inner hidden blessings. There's so many subtle things that we may not notice at first that are happening. And so this is really great. I love the simplicity of this text. It says, you know that when mind is abiding, it is empty, and when it is moving, it is empty. This means that you know that when the mind moves, that is, when thoughts arise, it does not affect the nature of mind. When you are abiding in the nature of mind, many different thoughts arise. Thoughts arise because your mind, in addition to being boundless and inexpressible, is full of power and energy. And that power and energy create, display, and dissolve thoughts unceasingly. Your mind is active and busy. This is part of its nature. So we can think like the sun. It just keeps on glowing. It has this energy to it. Everything has an energy to it. And so, of course, your mind does too. And that's Tuji, that's Nirmanakaya for those who are getting a little bit more technical. So it says, but even though thoughts keep arising, nothing changes regarding the nature of your mind. The nature of your mind is empty, and the nature of thought is empty too. If you look into the heart of any thought that arises, that thought will dissolve on the spot. Now remember, we did that essentially when we said, wait a minute, we're going to have a thought. Cat has Buddha nature. And you see that it's happening within that empty cognition. The nature of the mind is, and the thought itself are both empty of some kind of substantial existence. So this is going along perfectly with the introduction talk that we had today. This is, even if you don't do anything at all, the thought will still dissolve. That is why the great master Guru Padmasambhava said that thoughts move through the mind like wind moves through the sky. The wind moves through the sky in different directions and at different speeds, stopping and starting, always unpredictable. The wind cannot be separated from the sky, and the sky remains unaffected by the wind. So the cat is curious was our thought today. That was the wind blowing through. Now, just like in CBT, cognitive behavioral therapy, they have found that we can hold a thought unnaturally for quite a long time, hours, days, years, lifetimes. And so when you never just let that thought breathe out, excuse me, it will regulate who you are. It will regulate who others see you as. It'll constantly be piloting you, just like when the rats are drugged up in the labs, they have no choice. And this is what happens with our thoughts, especially with propaganda machines and cultural narratives and bandwagons tugging at your mind, pressuring you to believe certain things. Certainly, that's when the winds of the thoughts can seem to last a lot longer. I had several thoughts from my childhood trauma, for example. I can only use myself as an example, and those would resurface on a timely orbit. And every time they would resurface, of course, it would cause me issues. But then I started to befriend these thoughts I was having, befriend the emotions and the feelings. And finally, I would get a thought from my childhood and it would weigh very little. It would have very little density to it. And finally getting freed up from those thoughts that were tormenting me, you see. And I'm not claiming to be fully free of all thoughts that cause discomfort, but certainly some of those major ones are liberated out. So it says, the wind cannot be separated from the sky, and the sky remains unaffected by the wind. Therefore, the high capability practitioner of the highest caliber experiences no difference between abiding and movement. When the mind moves, it's fine, and when the mind is still, it's fine. There are no categories and no choices to be made within and for the minds of such practitioners. Now, don't let the mind trick you. You could tell yourself, "Oh, when I'm stuck in thought, I'm still enlightened." No, no, no. If you don't have a sense of spaciousness, usually thoughts are very obvious when they're conditioned because there's contraction. uh, Even if you're fully like this highest caliber, then do the 10-minute session and prove it to yourself. So it says, observe this for yourself when you are meditating. How long can your mind abide? Then, when your mind moves, does that movement disturb you or not? When your mind moves and you are not disturbed, this means you are a high capability practitioner of the highest caliber. In other words, when you do not experience the slightest difference between stillness and thought, when it is all the same for you, you are at the peak of the Dzogchen mountain. At that time, you can practice in the busiest, most chaotic places, for instance, Times Square, New York City, or in the railroad stations in India. The Dzogchen teachings say that when your realization is strong, being in such turbulent places is not destructive at all. Rather, it serves to enhance and deepen your practice. I think it's towards the end of the last paragraph here, right? This is Khenpo Dongyal Rinpoche speaking right now. He's basically doing an introduction. The source verses don't appear to be separated out. They appear to come in the beginning. Actually, Patrul Rinpoche's words, which would be Yeshe Jungne's words, and then Khenpo Palden Sherab and Khenpo Dongyal Rinpoche are both commenting on his words, which are then being translated by Sarah Harding, and then probably others. Okay, we can pause there. I think this is a good stopping point. Um, Thank you so much, everybody. I really like when the texts go right in hand with our discussions. And yeah, thanks for making another great gathering today. Um, are there any final thoughts, comments, questions before we close out? Still 21 people here. That's wonderful. They stayed overtime. Oh, yeah. Everybody good? I know it was a flawless session. Why would anybody have any questions? That's what I tell myself, right? No, we had very good inquiries today. Very good discussion in both sessions so far. Remember, we'll have another one in about 8 hours or so. Yes, Ozo, go ahead.
Suddenly, in the last moment, three people have a question. Uh,
I knew.
some stuff I was reading suddenly came to mind. This is a bit unrelated to the topic, but uh, about the topics of stuff like hell, Vajra hell, and stuff. Do you recommend just never talking about it at all? Because even when it's talked of in the sense of the mind, like in some places I'm reading, like a mind constricting itself into hell. It seems at the end of the like sessions, people have one gazillion questions about the hell part and nothing else. It creates fear in people. So do you think it's just good to never talk of that anymore?
I
At
talk
least.
about it in terms of the psyche, and that's it. I don't talk about hell as a place that you go as some external location. Hell is a place in the mind. We see people in hell all around us, and that's the most useful way, in my opinion.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I think, like not in the sense of a realm physically. Yeah, that makes.
It's a realm and sense of a psychic dimension that others can be there with you too, right? It can be a collective. And so if all those people are thinking the same kind of stuff, they have the same kind of programming, then they live in that collective together. We see this with neighborhoods, with cultures, with trends, all kinds of stuff, like minded. karma, basically little mandalas of karma, right?
Yeah, that makes sense, I think. With the cultural events and societal events, I think that makes a lot of sense. Thank you. Yeah.
And at any time, you can step out of that conditioning, whether it's good or bad. Yeah, Ben, you want to join in now? I don't know who is next. Still muted.
Yeah, I just wanted to say, like, yeah, when you really kind of what you were talking about, where or reading from the text, where you can kind of just see it as this beautiful play of awareness. Awareness has this dynamic energy, and it just displays as people, places, things, and within that, there are real people, places, and things, and it's all like kind of like the dream within dream, right? You can be a body laying in a bed thinking things, but you're stepping back in awareness. The body is in the awareness, the thoughts are in the awareness, and you kind of keep opening up and stepping back, and everything is just the dream kind of within the dream. It's awareness, the bodies, the houses, the buildings, the earths, the planets, the stars, the galaxies, the feelings, the thoughts, the emotions, every single little micro atom of it all is just the display of awareness. It's this beautiful open ocean just dancing and playing. And when you can really kind of see that, the thoughts and the emotions are just this beautiful, wonderful dance and play of the dynamic energy of awareness. And it's almost just becomes like magic. It's just a beautiful, wonderful thing to see. And all beings and places and animals and planets and galaxies is all just a part of that. It's like this freedom and oneness, this timeless freedom, and everything is allowed to just display in its own natural condition, its own natural way. And yeah, the more and more, anyways, I find I open up to that. Life is a little bit sweeter. Anyways, thank you.
You're hired. When do you start?
I'll lead the session at 9. So everybody be busy at 9 o'clock. So yeah.
I'm serious. If you Ben, you reach out to me on email and we'll get you started. You just have a way with words, and I really like your humility, your kindness too, that you're coming with. And you have really authentic realization happening. It's so amazing. And I love the way you express it.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that.
Well, I'm glad you have a space to do that in. And I could just see you being an amazing teacher for sure.
Thank you
So,
so much.
yeah, if you're feeling that in your heart, you just reach out to me. It doesn't have to even be hosting gatherings. It can be anywhere, but anything I can do to help, you just let me know. Okay, you really got some gift the gab going there, but more than that.
Okay. Thank you so much. I appreciate
Yeah, Herbert, want to also join in there?
Yes, I wanted to say when you were doing the pointing out earlier, I feel I got the pointing out again. So that was great.
That's what I hope for. And you
Do
can
more
thank
pointing
Monica and
out. Do more
Chappelle for that.
pointing out.
That means they are the bodhisattvas. That's our validation that they are bodhisattvas. They just help somebody else realize the nature of mind. Oh, that's wonderful, Herbert. Very good to hear. And that's why we do the sessions 3 times a day to keep that well open when people are thirsty and they need to hydrate the view. We need to hydrate the view. Okay, very good. So we'll end here. These sessions are considered meritorious, very powerful. That's the case. They're being presence, they're suffering, and we dedicate all that merit to them. Amazing. Deep bow to you, everybody. Wow. Have a beautiful day.